like a bird in the sky. The legend of the electric scooter guy. No gas, no fumes, just a hum in the air. A helmet on crooked, like he doesn't care. With a backpack full of snacks and a gleam in his eye. He's the hero we need, the electric scooter guy.
Gear up, scooter fam. Today we're gonna talk about my 500-mile experience with the V11Y Electric Unicycle. And so I've now had the V11Y for over 500 miles now. Obviously, it's my first unicycle ever. And so going to kind of talk about my journey so far, where I'm at, what I think about electric unicycles in general, what I think about the V11Y, what do I like about it, what don't I like about it at this point, if I could do some things differently, if I were going to choose a unicycle now, would I do anything differently? If so, what would I do? Just gonna kind of talk about those things today, and then and right here I just have a I like going on night rides, and so I have a kind of a close-up pic here. I'll be using it in a thumbnail as well, but it's going to be this is on a night ride, and I took and stopped and took a few shots of it, and this was my favorite shot that I got out the other evening on the EUC. And so let me just gonna go over it, just gonna talk about it. Today is gonna be just my 500-mile update on the V11Y and unicycling in general. So it's moving pretty quickly. So first of all, in general, unicycles are awesome. I mean, I don't think that's a secret. I really don't. I think everyone in the PEV world, if you've looked into unicycles, if you watched any videos, Freshly Charged, any of those guys, they'll tell you like unicycles are like the most fun of all the PEVs, and they're just on a different level. There's a different feeling when you're riding them, and so I was looking forward to that. I was expecting that, and it's absolutely true. Like I said, anyone that goes from one to, they'll tell you that. It doesn't mean, once again, it doesn't mean I'm never riding electric scooters again. I like electric scooters a lot, but this is just more of a fun, carefree, get out and do whatever kind of will, and kind of PEV. And the scooters are to a degree, but like I said, it takes it to another level. So I have different things that they fall into, and as far as what I use them for. The scooter's still really good to do certain things. It's bigger. There's more places to put things if I'm want to carry some stuff back. I did find out carrying a backpack. Then I got this kind of like a food delivery backpack. I was in the wind, and it was pretty tough carrying this thing on the unicycle in the wind because it kept wanting to turn me as I was riding. You're only on one wheel, and so the wind, if you have a side gust, it's already going to affect you more on a wheel because you've only got one point of contact, and it moves. So any little thing will throw you off balance or toss you aside a little bit there. So you got to push against it. Once again, same thing is true a little bit on the scooter, but not near to that extreme. And you have handlebars to hold on to. So there's just some things that you have a little bit more control over as far as counteracting wind on the on the scooter. You got your balance, you got your feet. I mean, lots of different things, leverage, so forth, that you just don't have on the EUC. So having a big square food delivery backpack like you would see Electric Scooter Academy have, and I've got it on my back on the EUC. I'm trying to get some food, and this was a test, and it was on a really windy day. And I have done something similar in the past, but this was on a really windy day, and every gust would try to throw me off. And when I turned, it would want to overturn. I'd over, and it would try to take me like where I didn't want to go. It was very sketchy at times, and I was able to get through it and fight through it and everything. No big deal, but definitely wouldn't do it again. Just wasn't. It wasn't safe, and anything could have, any little thing could have taken me into a direction I didn't want to go pretty quickly. And like I said, I'm constantly fighting that, and so that was a challenge that day. Sort of made it more interesting, but pretty beat up when I got back, as far as just having to fight this thing the whole time. Once again, not too big of a deal. I was able to get through it, but just a little bit more than what I would want to do on a day-to-day basis. So the food delivery backpack is definitely for the scooters, I'll tell you that, or e-bikes. If you had an e-bike, you could just put the rack on there. That's what I'd rather do. But to go get food, I'm not delivering food or anything. I've thought about it, but that's not why I got this backpack. I got it so I could go get food on my PEVs a little easier than using my backpack, because you have more room and ways to set the drinks and stuff in there. So it can be a little tricky. I could do it on the scooter. I probably be really tough just on the unicycle with just the backpack. Probably could be done, but tough. Scooter's just better equipped for that kind of stuff. So like I said, I'm not giving up scooters. I still enjoy riding scooters. Still have reasons to ride the scooters and things to do. But in general, like I said, for fun and just speaking of the riding experience and so forth, the unicycle brings a little bit more to the table. But I'm going to talk about so many things, this 500-mile update and my feelings on everything. But that's just to get going. All right. So once again, it's very fun. I expected that. I think I was nervous at first to learn to ride unicycles. Really nervous. I'm not exactly a risk taker, a thrill seeker, adrenaline junkie, anything close to those things. And so, for me to go, even on my Klima, like, to this day, admittedly, I've not taken it to top speed of 42, or even past 30, maybe a little past 30. But, mostly because that's not why I got it. I didn't get it to go 40 miles an hour. I got it because theoretically it could go 40 miles an hour if I needed to. I know there are some streets that I get out to where I kind of like to go faster, and I've gotten them to, like I said, 30-ish miles an hour, which I think is perfect for the kind of streets that I ride on 99.99% of the time. So that's why, like I said, it's not why I got the Klima. So as far as getting this unicycle goes, I didn't, there are certain things I didn't know, certain things, like when I bought my first scooter, right? I bought the Hover One Journey Max. I did a lot of research. I probably knew a lot about scooters as far as research goes at that point. I knew a lot less about unicycles when I purchased this. But when I first bought my Hover One Journey Max, I knew what it had. I knew what it didn't have, and I knew I was not let down. I was not. I wasn't incredibly overwhelmed. It didn't overwhelm my expectations either. I had watched enough videos that I expected it to deliver some performance, and it delivered. And so once again, I was not unhappy with that. There are some things that I didn't know that that I did. I mean, I had no experience riding a scooter, so I didn't realize how critical things would be or how my feelings would be versed. You know, those types of things. For example, suspension. You know, I knew the Hover 1 Journey Max didn't have suspension, and I was okay with that. And I knew, like I said, it was a dual motor. I knew it had the hub motor. You know, I knew all these little things. You know, it had tube tires. You know, so forth. And so I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, I didn't know how big of a deal some of those things would be to me, or the setups or whatever. So when I rode the Journey Max, I didn't realize how uncomfortable not having suspension would be on a scooter. And that's no fault of the Journey Max. Like I said, I wasn't let down by the lack of comfort. I chose it knowing that it didn't have suspension, and willing to accept the fact that it didn't have it on my, you know, that's my fault. But I didn't realize how much that would suck. You know, I'll put it that way. And I didn't. And so, for what it is, the scooter's great. You know, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like scooters or not. So I didn't go into. I want to spend a bunch of money on a dual motor scooter that has suspension, which can get up there sometimes in price. Just to find out that I didn't really like scooters. Or I really wasn't going to put the time into scooters like I am. So I bought a sub $500 scooter, but there was no point in my mind for me to go buy something that wasn't going to perform, wasn't going to climb hills, wasn't going to move me at a decent rate. To me, it didn't make sense to spend money on something that just wasn't even going to get me from A to B. And so, if it wasn't going to get me from A to B comfortably, that's okay. Now, I did get used to not having the suspension. I did get used to it. I got used to riding that scooter over bumps and so forth. And so eventually, it became where I thought about it less and less because I rode it every day. So that was not a big deal. But when I got a new scooter, which my next scooter was the Nami Klima, and I knew I wanted a dual motor again. I knew I wanted suspension, and I had got to the point on the Journey Max where 20 miles an hour, with 21-ish miles an hour on the Journey Max wasn't enough for me to be comfortable on the roads that I ride on. I really kept having to pull off to the side to let people by. And I kind of wanted a scooter that I could get out and move with traffic so I wasn't having to get over because they're not catching up to me very quickly. And so that's why I bought the Klima, was to be able to go faster than 20 miles an hour when needed. And bingo, it does all that and more. It's super comfortable. Like I said, I did lots of research on that. Not talking about the Klima today. I'm just talking about going from my first scooter to my second scooter, and why I went the way that I did. And so let me get into my V11Y and the reasons that I chose it to begin with. We'll start there. All right, so I chose the V11Y, and once again, before I get started on this, you don't know what you don't know, right? Simple as that. My buddy used to say that you don't know what you don't know. And when you're going into something, you take everything that you have, your knowledge, and because you don't know what you don't know, you're not sure what really questions to ask or what it means exactly. So I'm coming from scooters to a unicycle, electric unicycle, EUC, and I know for sure I want suspension. No question about it. I want suspension. So the things that I learned, let's say on my first scooter purchase with the Journey Max, was that I wanted suspension. and I wanted to go faster than 20 miles an hour. So when I bought the V11Y, I wanted something with suspension. I wasn't looking for the top, wasn't looking to go to the, a serious expensive EUC, but I wanted something better than just basic entry level, because I wanted the EUC to last for a while so that it would meet my needs, for the foreseeable future. And so I chose the V11Y because it had a top speed of 37 miles per hour. It's a full suspension wheel. It's by Inmotion, which I'm aware of because of scooters. I know they have some little issues like everybody does, but I think they make a quality product, and that's why. And they're pretty popular in the EUC world as well. So, in fact, I think they're focusing more of their time towards unicycles right now than scooters. And so, in any case, I decided to go with the V11Y, and because of, like I said, Inmotion, the Inmotion brand, the price point was good enough for me. Looking for something under $2,000. It could go 37 miles per hour, and it has suspension. So I figured this was a good wheel for me to learn how to ride on. Now, a lot of people say you don't learn on a wheel with suspension. It's more difficult. I think because it sits higher up or something like that, it's kind of hard to learn to get balance on a wheel that sits up that high versus a wheel that is lower to the ground. And that might have something to do with my learning curve and the way I learned and so forth. But I'm okay with that. Some people get a beast, call a beast EUC or whatever, right out of the gate, and then they struggle through, learning it. And so, I went for something what I thought was like a mid tier kind of wheel, and something middle of the road, not beginner, not advanced, but something in the middle of the road. 37 miles per hour. Like I said, full suspension, decent wheel, good quality, that kind of thing. And so I chose the V11Y from Inmotion. And what I think about the wheel so far. First of all, I don't have a lot to compare it to, so it's kind of like the Journey Max. When I had the Journey Max is great, versus other scooters, no problem. The Inmotion V11Y is great, but it's my only one I've ever had and ever ridden. So I have one thing to compare it to, which is itself. I didn't find it, once again, I don't have anything to compare it to, but I didn't find it incredibly difficult to learn. I took my time. People ask me, is it hard to learn? To me, I say it's not hard. It just takes a while. I didn't overload myself. Okay. Is it hard to learn in 24 hours? Yeah, I think it is. Is it hard to learn in 45 minutes as much as people say? Yeah, I think it is. But if you go out there and you don't put too much pressure on yourself and you do a little bit at a time, the old saying, how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And so instead of trying to eat the whole elephant and get out there and get frustrated because you can't eat it all, or it's not going like you wanted to, one bite at a time, step away, come back, get another bite, so forth. And so that was my approach. I knew it was gonna take some time. I knew it could be challenging, and so for me it wasn't difficult. It just took a while, which is fine. Overall, I spent about 2 weeks in the parking lot before I was really comfortable. Some of that might be me getting comfortable on my skills. It might just be mentally getting comfortable. A mixture of both, whatever the case may be. In 2 weeks, and to be honest with you, I wasn't really sure. Even after 2 weeks, I was like, I don't know. Because in certain situations I hadn't been in, there was no time at that moment to go out and start coming across those things and having to deal with those things that make you a better rider. So, but that's fine for me. I felt comfortable. I felt like I was able to turn. I was following lines very directly across the entire parking lot. I could stay on a single white line. I was making my turns. I was getting on and off fairly, with consistency, although not spectacularly, but I was able to do so. And so I decided to go out and venture out, and I did. And that took me, then I started, gaining some confidence. I went, took one ride and then took another ride and so forth. And now there's nothing I can't do on the unicycle that I can't do on a scooter. And in fact, at nighttime, I prefer to ride the unicycle. And the reason why is because, first of all, visibility. This thing is great, has great visibility. Probably one of the best things I have to say about it. And once again, I'm comparing it to scooters, but the lights are amazing. Amazing. I've never seen anything like it on a scooter. This thing lights up the ground like it's ridiculous. And I have added some supplemental lights as well. So I stand out. I'll put it like that. I stand out when I'm riding around at night. You can tell I'm there, and that's intentional. And so on the scooter, it's just not as much to me. There's not as much lighting. The lighting is down real low towards the very bottom at the back. So from behind, I've got a rider bag, a yellow rider bag that has reflective material and so forth. So you can kind of see that, but it just, it really doesn't grab your attention as much as like the lights, So I like both. I want the rider bag, but I also want like lights down, not necessarily on the ground, but like, a foot or so up, and so you're not literally having to look down at the ground to see these lights or get up close to see them. But I've got all kind of lights on this thing, and the way it's set up, like, you could do it on a scooter, but once again, you're kind of shining on the ground, and it's okay. But I've got it all around the side, which is I've got my Grizzly pads, which we'll talk a little bit more about, and I've got these supplemental lights that are from Grizzly, which are extra headlights and extra tail lights that hook into the pads. They're made for the pads. And then I've got these Pit Zoom RGB lights right here with the controller. And I find it pretty handy, and I just did this, but they come with these little Velcro backs on these, which is so perfect because I've got this fairing plate that I also got from Grizzly to attach onto the V11Y, so I can use jump pads, power pads. And so here's my controller. I just put a Velcro thing on the back of it and stuck it on here, so it goes with me, and I don't lose it. And I have it, on here. It's I know people could come like rip this stuff off, but most of the time I'm taking it in with me, unless I'm running in like 7-Eleven right really quick. I'm usually like 5 minutes. No one ever even comes and messes with my stuff when I'm in there. So I lock this part up, I throw it in there, I run back out. There's, like I said, no one is over there trying to snatch my stuff off. This stuff would be pretty hard to take off because you really got to work at it or have a tool to do it quickly. You could probably take these little Pit Zoom things off and run away. If you knew how these are connected, you could probably take the lights, but you don't notice by looking at it. You would know how easily they come off. But they just twist it and come off, so you could charge them. But yeah, so when I'm out there, I've got a backlight here that's pretty good. That comes with it, and then I've got two extra ones up here. This thing is super bright. And I've got two pretty bright lights as well from Grizzly. So I'm seriously lighting up the street with this thing. And then I've got these flashing RGB lights that I keep going when I'm riding. So there's no question that I'm on the road when I'm on the road. And once again, that is by design. So that's one reason I like riding it at night better, is because of visibility. And I could do some things, of course, on the scooter to kind of do the same thing. I could put the RGB lights on my backpack instead of on the EUC or the scooter, since there's really not anywhere to put it in the back. I could put it on my backpack and turn those on. So you'd see me, when I'm out, and there's nothing wrong with doing those things. But this makes it so nice to already have like this setup like this, because I can just slap them on and go. It's just very convenient. It's all in one package, so to speak. So I'm not having to do a bunch of different stuff to be creative to make it work. So it's just really simple. Second reason I like riding it at night. Between the suspension and this 18-inch wheel, I just don't worry about bumps, man. I just don't worry about them. Like, it's so nice on a unicycle versus a scooter not to have to worry about bumps and cracks. It's just so nice. And I talked about this before, but aside from, and there's another reason too. So first of all, you got the suspension, which is crazy compared to a scooter. It's crazy. I've got scooters with great suspension, and this is crazy compared to them. And then you got this 18-inch wheels, which goes over little bumps and cracks like if they're not even there. And then you take into account that you're standing directly over the wheel, and your knees are the other level of suspension that you have between the impact, right? So your knees are suspension. That's how you would deal with the wheel with no suspension. You still have your knees as long as they stay flexible, you're good on those. But this adds to that, and it's crazy. So you've got your knees, you're standing directly over the wheel. You have this crazy suspension here, which is adjustable. Then you dial it into your weight and so forth, and how you want, if you want it stiffer or soft or whatever. So you have complete control over that. Then you got this, like I said, 18-inch wheel here. All those things add up to a very worry-free ride over little bumps and cracks that would never even come close to knocking you off this wheel. You're not having to hold on to the handlebars like you are a scooter, and if your hands get bumped off, you can go down. You might have seen RK9 rides. I've watched all of his crash videos because when I was first learning, and I do this a lot on electric unicycles, I want to know what are the different ways to crash so I can try my best to avoid those. And one, I think he was riding a VMAX that was moving pretty good. It didn't have suspension, and he hit a bump and it knocked one of his hands off, and he went down. And I've had it happen a couple times to me. Luckily, not enough for me to get knocked down, but where I felt like my hand was going to get knocked off the handlebar. And if you're not ready, if you don't see a bump coming and you're not prepared for it, I mean, you can go down. You can go down. Well, that's just not so easily done on a EUC with suspension and an 18-inch. It's just not so easily done. I hardly notice bumps. The same bumps that would make me nervous on a scooter just don't make me nervous. They just don't. Most little cracks and bumps, this thing will just glide right over. Even if you accidentally hit it, as long as your knees aren't locked, it's just a boom and you're over. I mean, all you got to do is just keep your posture and roll. I mean, honestly, you're gonna watch where you're going, and it's also easy to make corrections. There's just so many things to say as far as that goes. It's just night and day difference. No pun intended. But night rides, visibility, I can see way better because of the lights. So I see what's coming better. I'm more comfortable because of being seen. So that's another part of it. And then the bumps and cracks, they just don't bother me. They just don't bother me. It's gonna take a pretty serious pothole to throw you off on this thing, in my opinion, my experience. Like I've only done 500 miles. I've heard about potholes, but in my mind, you got to hit a pretty big pothole. You got to be stiff, in my opinion, probably. Um, if the pothole wasn't substantial, where it swallowed your whole wheel, you'd have to be stiff, and I don't know. Even then, maybe you could recover. I mean, I just there's it's just so forgiving, right? It's so forgiving. Even the little mistakes that you make are pretty. You're forgiven. I mean, you're not going down because of little things. On a scooter, like you're down, you're gone. It's so easy to fall on a scooter, and so it's just a more forgiving type of vehicle, and so little bumps, little cracks, even small potholes, like they're not just gonna throw you off of there. It just automatically. Like I said, I feel like maybe you'd have to be stiff, not see it coming, all those things combined, and it would still have to be a decent little crack or pothole, in my opinion, to throw you off. The other stuff just doesn't do it. It just you've got the suspension. If those things are the case, you're fairly good. Like it's not an issue. So anyway, that's one of the reasons that I really like riding around at nighttime are those things that I mentioned. Just really comfortable, really laid back, relaxed. I avoid riding at night on scooters because of some of the things that I said. Mostly it's visibility, people seeing me, as well as me being able to see the cracks, and then if I'm not prepared, if I'm not prepared when I hit those cracks on a scooter, it can throw me. I have to be much more hyper vigilant on a scooter. On the unicycle, I can look at my phone. I can call someone. I don't try to sit and text back and forth because it's like a car. You kind of want to pay attention to what you're doing. You don't want to get completely. I'm going to be playing games and stuff as I'm on a unicycle, but I can take care of something quick, and then put it back in my pocket and go on. But I'm completely comfortable doing that, and there's just so many. There's, like I said, and plus I can gear up more on the unicycle. So I wear wrist guards. I would wear wrist guards on my scooter, which I bought them for, except I can't get a good hold of the handle grips because of the wrist guards don't allow my hands to close fully so that I can get a tight grip. And I just prefer the dexterity. I mean, I have gloves, but to me, it's like I don't want to do something that's going to cause myself to have a crash. I mean, it's great that I'm wearing wrist guards because I'm going to need them if I can't hold on to the handlebars. So I only use gloves. I don't use wrist guards on the scooters, but I can use them on the EUC because I don't have anything to hold on to. So if I do go down, I feel much better having wrist guards on. And so I'm able to have more freedom there. In doing that, I feel safer in general on the unicycle than I do the scooter for some of the reasons that I've talked about. And so, lovely PEV to ride at night. For me, the unicycle. So that's one of the real benefits, and and I actually enjoy it. I really enjoy going out at night. As you can tell, I just went out. I do it just to do it from time to time. And so this was, like I said, the other night, just going for a ride. Didn't have anywhere to go. Just wanted to go out and ride around a little bit, and I really enjoy it a lot. So get my miles in. Once again, 500 miles on the unicycle. Coincidentally, that's more than I have on any of the other my other scooters. So I've got 480 something like that on the Klima. not quite 500, and I'm about 100 miles over on this one. Actually, at this point, I think I'm over 580, right at 580, right on this one. So really close, 100 miles more on the V11Y than the Klima, which is my next highest, and then I have like 200, close to on the city, and then I have less than maybe 150-ish, between 150 200 on the go. So I've got less than 200 miles on the go, right at 200 miles on the city, and then 470, 480 miles on the Klima, and then I have like 580 on the V11Y, and I'm gonna take a trip after I get off here. So I am finding myself using it more than the other PEVs, but I'm also still trying to get as much time as I can. For it's a lot different skill than riding a scooter. I'm constantly having to refine my skills, work on certain things. I'm still not completely proficient at unicycles, even though I have 500 miles. I'm still dialing some things in. My mounts are getting pretty good. I'm pretty good at my mounts these days, but it took me quite close to 500 miles to really dial it in to where I felt like I was super confident, to be honest. Learning, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to do on them. Some things I want to do, some things I'm not too much in a hurry to do. I basically wanted to learn how to ride around, and enjoy myself on the unicycle. So that's kind of my take on, as far as me getting in what how I feel about the unicycle. Very like I said, took me a little while to learn, took my time, 30 minutes to an hour a day. I've tried to ride every single day, and get in whatever time I can get in to learn. And like everyone says, every day it gets a little easier, a little better. So I just keep putting that time in to get better at it. I did that quite a bit with the scooters as well, but it came much quicker, for sure, than this is. And so I expected that. I expect that, and that's kind of where I am now. Some things. Let me talk about what I've done before I get. Let me talk about what I've done to the V11Y and why I've done these things. So, I haven't done a lot, but you can tell I've done something. It doesn't look like a base, just a base V11Y. So I've got this fairing plate right here that attaches to the V11Y, and it does so via two screws down here, and then actually some plastic. I thought this went to something or maybe away, but for me, it was simply putting these two screws in, and then there's some double-sided adhesive on the back that you just kind of stick to the sides here. So you've got it held on by this, but then the rest of it is simply stuck on. And then I got these plates here. These are the large flow pads from Grizzly. I wasn't sure, which kind to get. I just wanted to make sure I got some good ones. I got the black ones with the black. That's black on black here with the. You could get any colors you want, and I got the ones. I might have paid extra. I don't know, but anyway, I wanted all black, so I customized them myself, and I got black, and I got these lights added, and I had this pad I had to get to be able to use it. So I spent about between $350, $400, something like that, on everything, on this plate, on the pads, on the lights, all together, like maybe less than $400. So, quite a bit. But I wanted to explain, like I said, kind of why I got them, um, why I decided to get pads. So as I said, I'm not really a thrill seeker, adrenaline junkie, nothing like that. So I wasn't getting these to learn how to do any stunts or anything. If it comes along, it comes along, great. But I didn't get them to start pulling off tricks. What I did was I got them for a couple of reasons, and one reason, probably I'll say the most basic reason, is because of one of the things I learned as I was working on my mounting, and I was working on just learning how to ride in general, was that one of the key important things to riding a unicycle, control, the different feels, so forth, has a lot to do with foot placement. And so where you put your foot on the unicycle will depend on how it feels when you're riding it, when you're trying to control it, when you're trying to accelerate. Those things matter a lot. Any little change in your foot position can have a big change on how the wheel responds to you when you're out there trying to maneuver and learn and do what you're doing, which is a big deal when you're learning, right? So you don't even realize what's going on, at least at first. I didn't when I was first trying to find my perfect foot placement. And so the first thing I did was put my dominant leg right up against the edge. This is even before I had the fairing plates or anything. Right up against the edge there of the V11Y, so that when I got on, because I've got a taller wheel that weighs like almost 70 pounds, and so it's heavy, and I'm learning that my muscles aren't developed to hold this thing up. So I'm pushing my leg right up against it, so that when I go to get on, it's easier for me to hold into place when I put my non-dominant foot on and get going. And so that's how I did it at first when I was in the parking lot, and I did that the whole time I was in the parking lot. And so as I learned, as I moved on, and so forth in the parking lot, some of the things once I got out of the parking lot, rather, was that I felt my legs were way too locked into the unicycle. I just got my knees, I really couldn't move them around at all. I really couldn't move them. I was having to walk them, to get any adjustments. Sometimes they slid on their own, and had trouble trying to get them back into place. And all the while, I'm still trying to learn. I'm still really trying to get some of this stuff down. And like I said, accelerating feels differently. Turning, it feels differently based on where your foot is. Such small changes. These small changes make a big difference in how it feels when you're doing this, and in the response that you get from the wheel. So the first thing that I wanted to do was get these pads so that I could have a consistent place to put my foot. Once I started riding around, I realized that pushing my leg as close to the wheel as I could was great for learning. But once I kind of got up and moving around a lot, I wanted a little wiggle room, and so I stopped putting my leg right up against the edge, and just giving myself a little room between my wheel and my leg when I was getting on. That made it more difficult to mount, because now I don't have my entire leg to use for support. So that takes some more getting used to. And I went and did some more reps. Once I realized that, because I wasn't getting enough reps on my normal just riding around, I'd have to only get down every once in a while. So I wasn't getting the reps in to build that muscle memory and kind of get used to doing that. So I went back to the parking lot and did some reps, and just with the new foot position out a little bit, even before I had my pads. Just so I was used to not having to put my leg up against it, because that changed everything. And so I started moving my foot outwards. And then once again, sometimes I would put my foot a little forward, sometimes a little back, but not intentionally. I just didn't have I just didn't have a consistent method for getting on. And sometimes, especially with the non-dominant foot, it just goes where you put it on. When you're learning, you're happy to get it on there and keep going. So, what I wanted was to get some pads that would guide me into exactly where I wanted to put my foot, and so I could get the foot placement down that I wanted, so I could get the same feel, continuity. Right? I wanted to get a consistent foot placement to ride the unicycle. Here I am trying to learn. And I'm trying to learn how to ride the unicycle with 20 different foot positions. One this way, one this way, one this way, one this. So the point is that, I wanted something to kind of guide me into place so that I could get a consistent foot position when I'm riding the unicycle, so that I can learn, develop my style, how I like to ride consistently, not all over the place. And so for me, it was a way to make sure that I got consistent foot position by lining up the pads where I want my feet to be, not where I'm trying to focus on putting them as I'm trying to ride off, and it just doesn't go well. Staring down at the pedals, trying to make sure my foot goes exactly where I want it to go, or I don't get going well, or I'm veering off to the side, or whatever it is. I don't get a good start. Because I'm not doing things properly, and so that was the main reason that I wanted the pads, was to make sure that I was putting my foot in properly. Another thing that I think is obviously a big deal if people get the pads is, and maybe more so for this particular unicycle, but when I'm trying to accelerate and I'm leaning forward, I feel like I'm gonna slide off, and I feel like my legs I'm just gonna slide right off this thing, and so I had nothing to stop my legs from moving forward. So when I'm trying to lean, and I got my foot on the pedals, it was an uneasy feeling. I was holding on for dear life with my knees on the side of the unicycle, because there was nothing, just feeling very secure. So the second reason that I wanted to get these was to have that secure feeling of the unicycle around my legs and around my knees, so that I didn't feel like I was going to fall off forward, which worked to expectation. It does exactly that. It makes you feel really secure in there. So now, one thing I was nervous about, and I kind of had to play with it, and when I first got it, I was a little nervous about being able to put my foot inside of there, because I hadn't been that accurate, and so teaching myself to come in, and also, before getting these pads, I would step up from behind. Once again, I think I mentioned this, was step up from behind. So I have my dominant foot and step up. Well, I can't do that now because I've got pads in the way. Because I step up, I'm going to hit the back of the pad. So I've got to step around and bring it in there. So I got to step, this way. And so that took a little getting used to. And I did some reps doing exactly that once I got the pads. And so that's one of the challenges was, am I going to be able to get my foot inside of here? If you put these things down on your foot, that's very little room to work with when you're still learning how to mount and you're trying to get going. So that can be a lot to do when you're still kind of dialing it in. So I was a little generous and I moved them up. So I gave myself plenty of room, at first. And it was almost like not having pads at all because, I didn't have anything locked in there. It was still kind of loose. And so once I got used to it, once I got confident and pulling that foot around and getting it in there, I tightened it up a bit, and then I tightened it up a bit And then I tightened it up once a little too much. I couldn't even bend my knees. I was like, wow, I didn't realize how stiff you could get them. I literally couldn't even bend during I was gonna hit some grass, and I wanted to kind of give a little extra cushion. I didn't have the room, so I went back and readjusted those. So you can overdo it. You can tighten up just a little too much where I didn't have any room. I couldn't crouch. I couldn't hardly bend my knees. So you got to play with that. But at this point, I have them pretty much where I want them, which is kind of in the middle as far as that goes. So I have the back, and that's why I try to put it so the back is right where I want it, and the front. Now I like what I've settled on is like I like having my toes hanging off here, and the heel pretty flat up against here, so you can kind of see. This is where my heel goes, and it's pretty flat here, but my toe probably sticks out here. So far that's where I'm at. That's how I like riding it, and I have a pretty secure fit now. The other thing besides stepping on, of course, is dismounting when you're stepping off. If you're too locked in and you're trying to get off, you don't want to fall over because you're trying to step out of the pads, and the pads got you too locked in. That was a concern of mine. And I did once, I think, kind of just barely over tighten them a bit, and kind of was, it's not the end of the world. By the time you're doing that, you're at a stop, so you're not going fast. It's not gonna, but you know, we don't want to fall just for no reason. So, I made a small adjustment on those and got those dialed in right, pretty much right where I want them, and so I, now it's no issue. I take them, I use them where they are. I like them where they are. I have no problem mounting, no problems dismounting. Really used to having them on there. I really like having them on there now. Also for the light capability, which, like I said, was more just a bonus for me. All right. Let me talk about some of the things. Oh, one more thing that I did also before I go into that was I changed the pedals. So I did have stock pedals that came with it, but they had a promotion going when I bought mine to send them free pedals out, which they sent separately. Took a little while, but they did get me my pedals. And these honeycomb style pedals, and these things are removable. You can put new ones on, or some different ones if you want. I like them. They're smaller. They're smaller this way, and they're smaller this way. So they're smaller in width and smaller in length. The other ones are much bigger out here and then come way out here. So I wasn't sure if I'd like that. And there's definitely a different feel to it. As you can imagine, having the surface area to push down, you get a lot more, there's just a lot different feeling, So when you're pushing on the front, and then there's not there, it's shortened. Your ability to control the wheel just changes drastically, especially the length. The width is probably just better for like different levels of foot position, like how far out you want your, that kind of thing. But when I changed to the pads, I decided to do it all at once. I'm going to be getting new pads. I'm going to be learning how to put my, my feet in here, and I'm going to be learning the wheel and stuff. So I went ahead exactly at the same time that I put my new pads on, I put the new pedals on. And I really like how it all goes together. I think that was probably the perfect time to do it. And the reason why I say that is because, once again, the wheel is shorter. And so since I'm not having to depend on putting my toes onto that pad because I feel like my knees are going to have to hold onto the wheel, I think that would have been worse with the shorter pedal. But because I've got the pads now, it's nice to have that. It's okay to have the short pedal because when I'm leaning pretty far forward, my knees are pushing into the pads, which is what you want. And so I'm not only depending on the pedals to hold me up. So the longer pedals aren't necessary to feel comfortable. So I don't think I would have liked to have switched them before then, but I think it was the right time to do the new pedals with the pads because it works. They work better together. All right. I think let me just talk about one thing, and then we're going to watch a little bit of footage. And I'll wrap this up with some footage, chit chat, and that'll be that. So, what I like, I'll say what I don't like. Some things I didn't know what to expect. Once again, unlike the Journey Max and so forth, I knew a lot more about scooters when I got into it. The EUCs, they're just a different beast. They're a more complex machine. They're a great machine. They're wonderful, but they're more complex. They're more complex in the way they work. They're more complex in the way you ride them, and they're just more complex. So there's so many little things that you kind of don't really fully understand until you're riding it, and you kind of got to get a feel for it to fully get a grasp of these concepts. And so, once again, you don't know what you don't know. And so, when I bought it, blown away by the suspension. Blown away by the suspension. I knew it had suspension. I was blown away by it. I said that, but I just want to reiterate. I'm sure it's just as good as any suspension out there. I hear, good things about other suspensions, and so forth. But, and I don't have anything to compare it to another wheel suspension. But I can compare it to some scooter suspensions, and it's insane compared to them. So, but once again, blew me away. Suspension blew me away. The lights, once again, the headlight is crazy good. Couldn't be happier with that thing. The wheel, the range is, I got no problems with it. I only go to below 50% because that's another thing that you don't really think about considering until you get a wheel. Is that you really shouldn't take it below 50% unless you're long distance or something. You shouldn't intentionally, in my opinion, take it below 50%. Because of the performance of the wheel, and something you don't think about, because once again, coming from the scooters, when I'm thinking about coming from a wheel where I have this much battery, I've got this much distance, so forth. How much can I travel on a full battery? And like the Klima, I think I've gone like 40, 50 miles on a charge, just tooling around town, not doing anything crazy, just kind of going here and there. On the V11Y, there's, like I said, so many different things to take into consideration. First of all, I got what I thought, like I said, was a kind of a mid-tier wheel. I probably consider it to be more of a high tier beginner wheel. Now I would even hesitate to call it a mid tier wheel. It's an 84 volt wheel, which is almost basic level. There are some that are less, but like pretty much it's like the basic. 84 volt wheel is basic, and in the scooter world, 84 volts is $7,000. So there's that. It was that thing I didn't quite have a grasp on when I came over. I didn't think 84 was crazy because I knew there was a difference, but I didn't realize that 84 was the base. I didn't know that. So 84 is the base. That's fairly entry level. It's not entry level, but it's like I said, it's top of the entry level. And so I got a more entry level wheel than I thought I was getting. And that's okay to some degree, but I really bought the wheel because I was thinking I want this wheel to do me for a long time. I don't want to be looking for another wheel a few months after I get this wheel, like I did on the Journey Max. But you don't know what you don't know. And so I still love the wheel. I love riding the wheel. I have no problem with the wheel. But if I had it to do over again, there are some things that I would do differently. Even though I'm getting my first wheel, and people say don't get this wheel, get that wheel. It's on you to get what wheel you want to get. I wouldn't necessarily get anything crazy, but I probably would have jumped up to a more mid-tier, a real mid-tier wheel. Something over 100 volts, something I could get up to the 40s easily. And that's just some things that I didn't quite understand. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So on this wheel, even though it can do 37 miles an hour, I've never even approached 37 miles an hour. I probably will likely never approach 37 miles an hour. I'll be impressed if I get it to 30 miles an hour. And unlike scooters, where you just get on, you hold the throttle down, and you go, riding an EUC is not like riding a scooter. One of the things I said is because it's a lot safer in the regard that if you don't know how to ride this thing, you're a danger to no one, because you're not going anywhere. If you don't know how to ride a scooter that can go 40 miles an hour, you can hurt yourself. You can hurt someone else very quickly because you can jump on and you can go. But if you don't know how to ride a unicycle, I don't care how powerful this thing is, you're a danger to no one, not even yourself, because you can't go anywhere. And then once you do learn how to ride it a little bit, it still takes a good amount of skill to be able to reach some of those higher speeds, reach the top levels of performance on the wheel. It's not simply just a matter of pushing in the throttle. It's a matter of leaning, but not only leaning, because leaning sounds easy. Leaning with control. And once you get past a certain point, and I've got pads on here, I've got 500 miles of riding experience, and I'm comfortable leaning to a certain point without feeling like, man, I'm really starting to push this wheel hard, and past the point where I'm not comfortable, and not because I don't trust the wheel. Once again, I do, but it's you yourself have to have control. The first time you go over 12 miles an hour on an EUC, it's scary. You start wobbling all over the place. 12 miles an hour. I couldn't believe that I was getting wobbles in the parking lot. And I couldn't go 12 miles an hour as fast as I could go in the parking lot. And I was getting wobbles. I'm like, how can I get wobbles this slow? But on EUC, you're going to get wobbles almost any speed. And it's just because I didn't have it down. Like, I didn't have the feel for it. I didn't have it. I just didn't have it, And so I left the parking lot. Of course, I got pretty good at controlling wobbles and so forth under 12 miles an hour, which is good, because if you do it under 12, you got to learn how to do it, more and more. Of course, it's more and more difficult as you go faster and faster because of the stability of the wheel. But so I'm able to get up to like 22 miles an hour. It's as fast as I've been on the wheel. Once I get past the mid-20s, up around the mid-20s, I really feel like this is at this point, you've got to be a more advanced rider to be able to get those types of speeds out of this wheel. This is not what they call cruising speed wheel of anything more than maybe 25 miles an hour. I could probably go a couple more miles an hour. Not too big of a deal with the right conditions. Sometimes I'm pushing against the wind and so forth. I could probably get a little faster than what I have, but not much without really pushing the wheel. And so what I understand about this wheel is even though it's a 37 mile per hour max wheel, it's a 25 mile an hour wheel, under all practical intents and purposes. And that's, and once again, I know people out there. I know there are EUC guys who will jump on this thing and take it up to the top limits and have it beep at them and all kind of stuff like that. But not, for what I want it for. I'm not going to race it. I didn't get it to go out there and push it. I didn't realize that it was going to be that difficult to get to 30 plus miles an hour. I didn't realize that. Once again, my Palo City, it's got a max speed of like 30, 31 miles an hour. And I get on there and go. The second day I had it, I was on there going that fast without realizing it. And this thing, I have to push it to get to go over 20 miles an hour, and that's so 37 is achievable, but it's not easy, and it might not be for me. It might not be for me to try to get up 30 plus miles an hour. 25 miles an hour, that might be as fast as I ever go on this thing, and that's okay. That's okay with me. Like I said, it's more of a matter of me learning about the wheel and so forth. So if I were to get a wheel, if I had it to do over again, I would get something that had a higher, had more volts than 84, because you're going to outgrow 84 volts if you enjoy riding. And I expected to. I didn't buy the unicycle not knowing if I was going to and like it or not. I already ride scooters. I knew if I took the time I could learn to ride a unicycle. I knew it was enjoyable, so I had a feeling I was going to enjoy it once I learned how. So I was fairly committed to this versus when I got the Hover 1 Journey Max. But I still didn't know what I didn't know, and I still bought a wheel that I want now, a wheel that I can go 30 miles an hour without feeling like I'm going to have to lie flat to get it to go that fast. And so it's not a disappointment to some degree, because I really love the wheel, right? But yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm being real, I would get something that's a little faster. Once again, a mid-tier wheel that could go, that's like at least 100 and something volts. That's the top end, and I didn't do enough of this, right? So they tell you to get a wheel that goes way faster than you want it to go. When you start dipping down into battery percentages in the low 50%, like I was saying earlier, you don't get the performance. And unlike the scooter, okay, so it doesn't go top speed, no big deal. What's a big deal on your wheel? Because when you can't go that top speed, you might not realize you're going the top speed, and you got cut out. Your wheel will cut out because you were trying to go your normal speed and your wheel wasn't ready for it. And they have ways to warn you and stuff like that, but it's still an issue, still something to consider. And you don't necessarily, I don't personally want to have to think about that when I'm just riding around. So if my wheel drops into the 50s or a little below 50, I charge it up so I haven't dropped just below barely 50%. And I still get a pretty good range out of the wheel. Of course, I only go 22 miles an hour. So I get like 40-ish miles out of 50% of the battery, top 50% of the battery, the way that I ride. And that's a lot, probably a lot more than average, for people, especially that are a lot harder on these wheels. So, unlike a scooter where I say I want a scooter that goes this fast, I mean, to some degree, I just want to get on a wheel that will go 30 miles an hour without trying. So if its top speed is 60, then I should be able to go 30 pretty easily. And so that's what I'm looking for in my next wheel. whenever I get a wheel, I'm not out there digging for a wheel. I got plenty of time to learn on this wheel. Right now, it does everything I needed to do. I do find myself riding down the same streets that I want to go 30 miles an hour on, that I can't really go 30 miles an hour on this EUC comfortably. A little has to do with my skill, a little has to do with the limitations of the wheel itself. And so I would like a wheel that I can get up to 30 miles an hour, just 30. I thought getting one that went 37 would get me there, but I just didn't understand enough about the wheels and how they operate and that give, so forth. So I want a wheel that I don't have to lean so far forward to hit 30. I want to be able to hit 30 just a natural little lean that comfortable, calm 30 miles an hour, not a speed defying lean to get to 30. I mean, not what I was looking for. I didn't know that. We don't know what we don't know. But if I had it to do over again, I'd look for a more mid-tier wheel. If I get another one now, I may go past the mid-tier because I've already got this. And if I'm going to go get a wheel that I know that's going to last me a while, I probably will get a high-end, high-tier wheel just to be on the safe side. Plenty of range, plenty of top-end speed. I'll never hit that speed, but that's okay because 30 will be no problem. And so that's what I learned so far about getting the V11Y. I like the V11Y, but I'm outgrowing it faster than I wanted to. And even though I can go 37, I want something that can go 30 miles an hour plus a little bit, just like my scooters, easier. I want to be able to do it easier. Like I said, without having to play Superman on the wheel. All right, let's watch some footage and chat a little bit more. All right, speaking of which, we're taking a ride today on the Inmotion V11Y Electric Unicycle, and it's a nice day. Once again, it's my favorite way to get around these days. Really enjoy riding it around. Today, I think I'm just going on a run that I go on. My test is just kind of some of the things I do are just to get time in on the wheel, just to get the miles in, so forth, just to get a feel for it. I'm looking forward to going to the expo, the PEV, what's called Electrify Expo, in a couple of months here in Dallas. I've already got tickets, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm trying to get nice and comfortable on the unicycle because I want to test some out while I'm there. Speaking of which, I don't know who all's going to be there as far as anyone, but as far as unicycles, I think Inmotion is going to be there, which is great because I would like to test a couple of other Inmotion wheels. I hope they have the P6, and if you guys don't know what the P6 is, I may do a video in the near future talking about the P6, talking about some of the top wheels that I might want to get whenever it is that I do decide to get my next wheel. The P6 is a beast. I like Inmotion. I like Inmotion wheels. There are some other wheels that I like as well, but I don't know if they're going to be at the expo. I know Inmotion is going to be there. The P6 is supposed to release or be revealed in October, taking pre-orders, I think, and then it's supposed to ship in December, I believe. So it being in November, I'm hoping they at least have some to test and ride around. It's a lot beefier and a little more crazier than the V11Y, so that can be challenging. I know. I've heard from others. Going from a wheel that's now, once again, this is not the smallest wheel. It's not a 30 pound wheel. It's almost a 70 pound wheel. But going from something like that to like over 100 pound wheel still can be quite different, and kind of feel like you're having to learn how to ride a unicycle again. So I don't know how comfortable I'll be on something that big, but I want to test out a few different unicycles, and I certainly would like to test that one out to see if I could, or how well I could ride it, because I have some skill, so I don't think it's going to be completely new, but it may feel somewhat new considering the size difference between what that wheel's going to be and this wheel. So if you don't know, if you haven't heard, the P6 is supposed to have a top speed of 93 miles an hour, and once again, I'll never ever hit 93 miles an hour on a unicycle, intentionally, hopefully. Uh, but if it can do 93, it can do 30 in its sleep, you know. And so that's kind of what I'm understanding the importance of for unicycles. So I really bought the V11Y thinking that I could eventually get up to 30 on it easily. Once again, easily. And maybe I'm underestimating, but from all the research that I've done, it's not a 30-mile-an-hour wheel. It really isn't. It really isn't that. Guys, pay attention. Boom, he goes down. I'm just gonna. I don't know if you can see. Sorry, I didn't realize it was coming up so soon. So this guy right here, I'm just gonna pause it. There's a guy coming up right here on his bicycle, and looks like a 10 speed or whatever they call them, really thin wheels. And I had seen him coming up, and I was getting prepared to get ready to get on this side, but I don't worry about it. He's still pretty far away at this point. But I look up, and then all of a sudden he just goes down. And so if you watch this, he's riding along, and then for apparently no reason, he just slams on the ground. And I didn't know what happened. I thought, maybe there was something that he hit. Anyway, as you'll see when we get up here, he's got a helmet on, but he's got literally nothing else on, hardly. He's not wearing a shirt, so he's riding completely shirtless. He's got a backpack. He's got these really thin shorts, and I can't tell if those are running shoes or biking shoes or what they are, but no ankle support there or anything like that. And he's checking it out. I'm just making sure he's doing all right. And then as I was talking to this other guy on a bike, kind of making sure he's good. He said he's good, young kid. I like that guy's he's got a cool little bike there too. But yeah, and I don't know what I think maybe he just hit one of these little. I hate these little things. I'm constantly having to worry about them on my scooters, and especially my my unicycle. He's just asking me about the wheel, and everyone wants to know. Everybody has questions about it. But yeah, cool guy. But man, I'm glad the kid had his helmet on. I'm not sure in the particular case that he went down kind of sideways, but either way, I'm glad he had it on. I was supposed to not having it on, but sort of wish he had a little more gear on, but at least he's wearing a helmet, and it seemed like he was okay. He kind of busted his elbow, and then he had a kind of a scrape, maybe some road rash on his shoulder that looked kind of painful there. But yeah, I had to show you the guys that little crash right there. It's the first crash I've seen, and it just kind of happened out of nowhere for no reason. So you never know, guys. That's why we wear gear, because he was just riding along, having a great old time, and then just next thing you know, he was on the ground. And that's the worst. If you know something's coming, or you see it coming, and you kind of brace yourself, or you get some kind of warning that you might go down, but you're just riding along, and then bam, next thing you know, you're on the ground. Like, what happened? I don't think he knew what happened. He just said, I crashed. Like, yeah, you did. But he did, I don't know if he even knew why he crashed. He just, he went down. I think he might have hit one of those little cracks there with those thin tires. Probably just got caught, and he went down. But like I said, it's something I think about quite a bit. I worry about it on the wheel because they can throw me off balance as well. Of course, I don't have really thin tires. My tires are like 3x18, but it'll still catch me and kind of throw me a little bit. And it is, once again, it is forgiving, so it doesn't like toss me off the wheel. I'll have to correct it and get myself lined out again. But like I said, it's not so terrible if you hit something like that. It just on a scooter it's much less less of an issue. But on an EUC it's a little bit of an issue, but easy to fix. I think it would be more of an issue on a scooter if it did affect you, just because you get thrown off balance on the scooter. You can go down pretty easily on a scooter, getting thrown off, like, kind of getting, completely, done like that. You can lose your balance pretty easy on a scooter. On this thing, you can lose it, but it's easier to correct, than a scooter will be kind of quick if you got thrown like that. But it's harder to get in that situation on a scooter. So, positives and negatives about that. But as I said, it's my favorite form of transportation right now. I knew that would be the case. I look for reasons to ride it. I did the same thing with my scooters. I still use my scooters. I still come up with reasons to take them. I'm not trying to neglect them, but I'm just putting so much time right now into learning still, and getting my experience and my skills down. And I've just done this so many times at this point, to where I'm now I'm not out there with my phone on my wrist and watching my speed and leaning. And what I'm doing is going out. The EUC logs all my data, has everything going for it, and then I don't know what that guy was doing. And then after the ride, I go back and see what my top speed was. So each time I try to get a higher and higher top speed, not by watching my speed on the thing, because to me that's just dangerous. Like, I'm watching what's in front of me. I'm going fast. I want to see what's in front of me. I don't want to be staring at my wrist trying to make sure I'm hitting a certain speed. There's no speed indicator on the wheel, but I don't want to look down at the wheel either. I want to look where I'm going. It's pretty important. Faster you go. So as I'm leaning in, as I'm trying to push myself past the points where I feel like I've pushed myself before, and like I said, sometimes I'm going into the wind. Sometimes that's more of a challenge than it would be otherwise. But I've sliced this up a million different ways. I've tried it, again and again and again, and I've not got past 22 miles an hour, maybe 22 point something. And it doesn't seem to matter what I do. I've turned on acceleration assist on the wheel. I got the power pads. I thought the power pads would allow me to, because felt like I was sliding, to lean forward even more to get the wheel to go faster than what I was going. Once again, that didn't work so well. I eventually turned on acceleration assist up to 100%. It's up to 100% now. I ride around with 100%. Brake assist also, so that I have the balance. But I cranked them up to 100% and try to get more out of the wheel than I'm able to get otherwise. It doesn't matter. And so once again, I'm doing it naturally. I'm not watching the speed. I'm trying to get a feel for how fast I'm going, and I'm trying to push past that point every time. And I lean to the point where I'm, even with the pads, it starts to become like, I'm really pushing the wheel much further than I want to push the wheel. Not faster than I necessarily want to go, because I want to go faster, but not at the cost of how far forward I'm having to lean. Once again, I know people do that. I watch these guys. I know how they do it. I know what Chooch says. I know what those guys say. I know what they do out there. Wrong way. I see all of it. I'm not them. I never claim to be them. Like, I don't claim to want to be them. I don't ride like that. I don't race. I'm not gonna be a racer. I watching all that stuff, and those guys are awesome. But I'm not here to make racing content on EUCs. And I applaud all those guys for doing that. But I'm the regular ride around, cruise around kind of guy, but I want to go 30-ish miles an hour because my daily stuff on my scooter, that's what I can do, and I want to be able to do that on my unicycle. That being said, I still enjoy riding the unicycle 22 miles an hour more than I do riding the scooters 30 miles an hour. So if I could get to 30 on the unicycle, that would be a dream come true. So once again, I'm probably going to be moving up to another unicycle in the future. No hurry. I got plenty of time to have fun on this thing. 22 does it for me. I can get by. I know I did it plenty before I got the Klima. I know where I can go and safely get away with 22 miles an hour. Might have to pull off for cars now and then, but these roads that I go are friendly in that regard. There's a couple that I can't go that I wouldn't do like that. But like I said, I like to have the freedom to do that, so it makes my commutes a little easier when I can. And when I'm on my scooters, I do, and it's much faster. That's another thing. If I really want to take care of something quick, the city or the Klima will get it done really quickly. And I'm comfortable going that speed. I'm comfortable staying that speed. I can get on and go and come back. I mean, I can zoom. So I want to get there. I don't think it's going to happen on this unicycle, and that's unfortunate. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I could do plenty with it, but I wanted to get to the point where I can go 30 on a regular basis comfortably without feeling like I'm pushing this thing to its limits. And that for me, I want that room. I want that headroom. I want the room to not have to push the unicycle that far. So I'll probably go over some, but as I mentioned, the P6 that should go 93 miles an hour. It's not out yet. It's an Inmotion wheel. Everybody's super excited about that. I'm pretty excited about it. I like Inmotion. I like this wheel. Great quality, as I expected. I haven't had any issues yet. The one issue that I did kind of have, I'm trying to remember, there's been like little things or something like that. Nothing that's been a big deal at all. But one issue that I did have was I tried to turn it on one time and it turned on. It seemed like I could use the wheel, like it locked and everything, but the display didn't tell me the battery percentage, and I couldn't sign on to the app. I saw someone else had this problem after I had my problem, but I think I charged it up. I plugged it in and started charging or something and waited for it to pop up. I just did like some kind of thing like that to kind of get it to reset or whatever. That worked. So it wasn't anything that kept me from doing anything, whatever. But that was kind of a glitchy little thing that happened. I think I didn't trust the range at first. Not the range, but the odometer. But I confirmed it's correct. I thought it was overstating, but I compared it to some normal routes. Once I got good at going those exact routes on the unicycle, I confirmed the correct, because I ride on my scooters all the time. So that didn't end up being an issue. This road I take every time now. I'll jump out here for just this short little spot. I have taken that grass up there. If I stay on the right, it's not too bad. And then you got to come up here on the left and get back on the sidewalk, because there's a nice little chunk right there. I mean, you could hop up, but it's just easier. I just take the street at that point. That's the easiest way to deal with that little situation. But there's still a couple of patches up here where I'm on the grass, and kind of feel like pretty comfortable. Like I said, I could do it once I realized on that one, because I walked across there several times. I walked across all these at some point. I was not comfortable riding the unicycle. You guys might remember that from earlier. But I can go over any other. Even that one, if I did, I could just go right over. If I stayed to the right, like I said, that's pretty clear. Then towards the end, you kind of got to get back off to the left and actually hit that from the other side of the sidewalk there, which is a tad little tricky. But these things maneuver so well. They're just so. Once again, just riding them is way different. You can't whiskey throttle an EUC. You can't hit the brakes too hard on the EUC. It's not going to throw you. You've got to lean back to brake, so as you're braking, you're already counteracting the forces by doing it. So you can't do that in when you're leaning forward. You can't get thrown back because you're having to lean forward, and so you're having to counteract the force of it pushing you back by leaning. So it's so natural, and it works with your body weight, and the way you manipulate it. I think I do walk across this one. That's right. That's right. I forgot that. I have no problem going against this day. I think I went for a pretty long ride, and my feet were killing me. And so I totally forgot on this ride until now that I was sitting here saying, yeah, I can go on the grass. I definitely can, but I think I took a long ride this day, and this was the second part of my ride, and my feet were just killing me. I was so fun. I didn't even realize. I was like, oh, I'm not walking here. Yeah, I know I can do this. Do it all the time. But yeah, I decided that I wanted some nice walk in the grass, not on the pavement where my feet could get a real break. I think I rode probably 20 miles in one stretch on this day. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I went around all day, and I jumped back on up here and continue on. But I think I said to myself when I get up here, I'm just gonna walk. I'm just gonna walk this one because I'm totally want to get some nice comfortable grass under my feet for this little stretch to give my feet a break. They were seriously fatigued, and it does happen on the unicycle much more than the scooter. The scooter, your feet can get fatigued, but so I hit like 20.7 miles an hour. That is pretty. I hit 20 easily without even trying. It's so interesting because then when I really try, I could hit 20 just riding around, not even thinking about it. I'm not consciously thinking about increasing my speed. I'm just riding. And as soon as I try to increase my speed consciously, I might get 2 more miles an hour or 1 mile. Honestly, nothing more than what I get. It's so interesting. I think the wheel just really, and I've got all the settings. I've got them all set up to where I can go up to, I think I've got it set at 35, because I don't want to get close to 37 because of cutouts. So I've got the speed limit set at 35. I've got all the acceleration. I got everything turned up, even acceleration, assist, everything. And I still can't push it past 22 miles an hour very easily. So I don't know. Why that is. Like I said, I can get up to 20. I probably don't get up to 22 or whatever without really trying, but that's not much more for me just riding around versus me like trying to lean into it. And once again, maybe this is because I've had a lot of windy windy days to contend with, because I am seriously leaning as forward as I can, without, just like I said, just doing a Superman, and that stuff looks cool. But like I said, I lean pretty hard. Like I said, on the other one, to the point where I felt like I was going to lose grip if I kept leaning forward up until I got the pads. And so much easier for me to do that now with the pads, but still I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that torque once I get up into those speeds. That's really keeping me going that fast. And maybe that's because it's an 84 volt system. I didn't know that. I thought 84 was, good. But I think I need a more powerful wheel that I don't even have to do that. Like, I really don't even want to have to force it to hit 30. I just want it to naturally hit 30. I guess for today, I'm going to call that one. If you guys enjoy this content and you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe, and happy riding.
Pull the charger at dawn, screen flickers to green. Armor on wheels hum like a distant dream. Dust on my visor, wind in my eyes. Riding like every road is a final goodbye. No maps, no rules, just the pull of the street. Each mile a heartbeat under my feet. I'll ride till the battery dies. No turning back, no compromise. Burning this charge under blood-red skies. Carving my path till the silence replies. Yeah, I'll ride till the battery dies. Memories marked in gravel and flame, chased by shadows that don't know my name. City lights blur, just flashes and sparks, but I still chase the dark with a lion's heart. No limits, no guides, just the will to believe that freedom lives in the air I breathe. I'll ride till the battery dies. No fear of the lows or the highs. Even if I break down where the blacktop lies, I'll give it my all till the spirit flies. Yeah, I'll ride till the battery dies. One bar left, blinking red on the dash. No regrets in the final flash. If I coast to a stop beneath the stars, I'll know I went far. Just as I am. I'll ride till the battery dies. Through silence, through storms, through goodbye. Let the motors fade, let the current cry, but I won't be done till I
just me and the night, and the old